Hi, I'm Marie with LivingFelt.
Hi, I'm Helen Russell.
Helen is here in the LivingFelt studios. She's been here all week and she's filming a brand new class for felting tutorials. Check this out, y'all. It is her Autumn Creek. Looks like a painting, but it's wool. And you've needle felting and wet felting. And this is going to be a project you can make. Helen, it's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a fantastic piece. And some of you already know Helen. You might have visited with her. We had a live chat with her now famous octopodes. So the octopodes, or little cluster of octopuses, was a 3D wet felting project that you came up with all on your own.
Sort of. I was inspired by some Woolly Wednesday projects and put them together.
Her inner creative genius lit up when she saw something totally else. And then we were triply inspired and were able to share that with you all. But she's back. She's been filming this 2D tutorial. Looks like a painting, and no surprise because you are a trained painter.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so you're going to get to see a lot of Helen's art and learn a little bit more about how she came to felting. But let's just start there, Helen. How did you discover felting in the first place?
Facebook. I was looking on Facebook and I saw all these really nice portraits of dogs, and my dog had just passed in 2019, so I really wanted to make a portrait of her to remember her. So I looked into it and found that the people that were posting were from England and all these far places. So I asked, does anybody know where to get supplies in the United States? And people said, LivingFelt. So I said, yeah. Oh, okay. And then I got a lot of advice to say, don't start with your dog. Start with other things to let you learn the process and other people's dogs before you do yours.
Yeah.
So I followed that advice, and it was great advice. I started with a kit that took me through all the beginner steps, and I felt like someone was holding my hand the whole way. It was great.
Yeah, yeah. So you watched our pet portrait tutorial at that point. And then what was that first kit that you started with?
The Winter Fox.
Okay. So that was, I think we're going to share this as your very first felt piece.
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, the reason it makes me so happy that you started with this piece is we created it as a bridge project. So it's like, how do you go from a photo or the idea of an animal and use the iron-on transfer pen, start with that base, learn to blend, just learn to get the fiber on there.
The little tiny pieces.
Yeah. And then you went on, did you do many things before you did your own dog? Or was
I did a couple of dogs before I did the main one. And then I continued to do a few more dogs because it was so much fun.
It's fun. Yeah. So we have a piece, we have a picture of, this is Licorice.
This is the one I was aiming for. She passed in 2019. She was such a good girl.
And what a fantastic job you did. Look at the eyes and all the detail in that fur. And did you use that MC1 batting on that piece?
That's all MC1, and I think I only had 5 colors.
Wow.
And she had some pink fur, and it was great that I had that kind of pink color.
Yeah.
Yeah, to blend into her mustache.
So sweet. And so you still have that piece, I assume.
Of course,
it's in your home.
It's hanging up.
You have to. Yeah, you have to. So, you know, just art in general, you have long art history, but just share with everyone kind of your first recollection of creating art yourself as a child.
The first memories I can think of are when my father gave me some photo paper and told me to go lay some objects on it in the sun. Wait a while, and the paper will turn purple around the objects. And you can create compositions that way, and it was a lot of fun.
Like a cyano print.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. So your dad was a photographer.
He was a self-taught everything. Self-taught painter, sculptor. He had formal training too, but he's taught himself photography and video and a million other subjects. So we had all those supplies in the house.
It sounds like your parents were incredibly creative. You're saying your dad taught art and was a photographer, and your mom too. Tell us just a little bit about what they did.
Well, they actually met in art school.
Really?
Yes. And my mother was not only a very talented painter, but she also worked a lot in fabric and crochet. So we always had yarn and fabric and sewing supplies. And she taught us all how to do it. She taught all my brother and sister and I how to embroider. And So we all grew up learning skills that I still use in my felting.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And she was known for making her dolls and her soft sculptures. So I got a lot of influence from her.
That's fantastic. And then your dad. So
my dad was a painter, sculptor, photographer, everything under the sun. We had all the supplies in the house, even a lithography press.
wow.
We had a pottery wheel. You know.
How fun.
So it was a lot of fun to explore. But of course, I had to say, oh, we have all this. I want something else. So I got an airbrush. And I was, painting jean jackets when I was a teenager and got really good at that and made a little, pocket money out of that when I was a teenager in high school and a little bit in college.
And so one of your early jobs was actually with art, right?
Yes.
And we have some photos from that. So I think y'all get a kick out of this. So this we're calling this the prelude or the foreshadowing. So check this out, y'all. You worked in a grocery store.
Yes, actually they said there was a sign out front that said chalkboard artist needed.
Oh, I
applied for that, and one of the assignments was to make that banner, and they wanted me to make it on paper. And I said, no, paper, you're going to ruin paper when you hang it. So I said, let me get felt. And they said, we trust you. And felt was the best medium for that. Held up nice and strong, easy to paint on.
And you said that was an enamel in your airbrush.
Enamel in my airbrush, yes.
Mm-hmm. So fantastic. And all of us can relate to the Campbell's soup, right? And so I think we have some other imagery these are pastels.
Yeah, these are the chalkboard artists I got. They allowed me to get nice fancy pastels to create these. They changed them every week to whatever fruits and vegetables they wanted to promote that were on sale.
Oh, and you signed all the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
How sweet is that? That's so cute. And what great work. So you were in your early 20s here?
Yes.
So fun.
Beginning of college.
Yeah, they look so great.
It was a great job. I was very well appreciated there. They treated me very nicely.
Yeah, and you got paid to create art. Yeah, fantastic. So Helen, for college, you actually studied art.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I wanted to concentrate in photography. A lot of times those classes were closed. So I knew that the painting classes would be an easy A. So it would bump up my GPA. So I took a lot of painting classes and I learned so much. And I got such great instruction. They had so many professors that taught different styles. I even did some independent studies. And it was a great experience.
And so in your art now, are there themes that you regularly return to? What is your favorite?
I do love landscapes and animals, birds, and I love the dog portraits too.
Yeah.
And bats, of course. My obsession with bats and octopus and hummingbirds.
Helen, so what is it about, like when you look at a landscape, or maybe you're taking a picture of something else and you see just the nature in the background, or you're looking at animals, what is it that really captivates you about them?
I'm awestruck by all the color and the leaf formations and the colors in the sky, and seeing little wildlife creatures, little chipmunks running by or a rabbit. They're ordinary, everyday creatures that most people don't think twice about, but it really gives me a thrill when I get to see them, and then I want to go home and make one.
And so when you see these, like when you're out, there's a park that I think we're going to look at in a minute that you visit all the time. When you see a subject that you're interested in, do you take a photo of it, or do you have just such a heightened or trained or exercised observational internal catalog that you just remember what you saw?
I usually, if I don't remember, if I haven't done it many times, if I've made an animal many times, like bats I've drawn many times, I don't need a reference unless I'm doing a specific species. But if I want a reference, I'll usually look it up on the computer and see if I can find something that matches my imaginations about that animal. And I will be careful to get permission to use that.
If you're doing that exact one image.
Yeah, if I'm even referencing it close enough, I'll still contact the photographer and say, hey, I'd like to do a painting of one of your photographs, and I think it's wonderful. And usually they're happy.
Yeah.
Usually they're very happy.
Yeah.
And they say, please just credit me and send me the final image.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So you will reference imagery
Yes.
before you do something.
Not all the time, but if I can do it from my own photos, I'd rather do that.
Well, I think it'd be great to let's look at some of your art. We have a variety of pieces here, and we're going to start with some of your paintings. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about these.
So these little black-capped night herons, they're very abundant in the park that I visit every day. And this was actually from a couple of photos. They weren't together.
Oh, interesting.
I put them together and made up the water. It wasn't in the photos.
So you captured photos of them and then created this composition. And I think you mentioned to me that you really like making rocks.
Rocks, yeah. Rocks are fun. My favorite part of this is the roots and the rocks in the front.
Yeah, those are fantastic. You captured so much detail and the light and the shadow. Yeah, it's beautiful. And this is acrylic on canvas?
This is on canvas paper.
Okay.
Because silly me, I think I don't want to waste a canvas.
Oh.
So I take the canvas paper that it's meant to be practiced on and I make a really nice complete painting on it. I've stopped doing that. That's silly.
Now you trust yourself more.
Now I trust myself. Just paint on a good canvas.
So nice, so nice. Okay, more from the park where you visit.
This is a blue heron. And I took this with my cell phone, and then I painted it, based on that photo. And I don't go strictly by my photo. I invent things.
Love it. I love the contrast there. Sweet.
This is a park house in that same park, and I enjoyed doing all those stones. Really, that was what attracted me to this house, was all those stones.
Right.
And I left out the air conditioner and the other vents on the side of the building.
Nice.
And I added the geese because there's so many geese in this park that you'll always see them flying around.
It's a beautiful composition. And the shading on the house really gives it dimension and depth. I love that. Beautiful.
And this is the same park. Maybe if you turned around from that last house, you'd see this.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Helen, how big is this piece?
It's 36 inches by 12 inches.
And where does this live now?
In my stairway at home.
I bet somebody would buy that piece.
I had it in a group show that was in January at our local art center in Snug Harbor in Staten Island. And they had a call to artists, bring in 2 pieces, and it was a great show.
Yeah.
But I think I priced myself a little high because I am very attached to that painting.
We've talked about that no regret pricing. You price it so that if it sells, you won't regret it.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's the way to go. You price it so nobody buys it because you love it so much.
Exactly.
Well, I can see why. It's really, really, really beautiful. So that's called Cloves Lake Park. You live in Staten Island, New York, which I've just been trying to learn a little bit about. It's very different from our world here.
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. You've done wedding photography, you've done painting, now you're doing felt art. What's some of the feedback that you get from people when they see your artwork? Or your favorite, maybe a favorite comment or feedback?
I like when I bump into people that I photographed their wedding and they'll bring the picture up on their phone and it'll be a framed piece over their sofa. It'll take up half the living room and they'll say, we just love the sky in this photo. You just captured such a beautiful moment in our day and the clouds look so interesting and we look great. That's one of our favorite memories. And it makes me feel so good that, they appreciate that I took the time to try to make a piece of art for their memories.
Yeah. Now, are you still doing photography?
I'm not. I felt that it was too much pressure, too much rat race, and did it for 30 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah. And I said, I need time to be creative for myself. I was being creative for other people, trying to please other people.
Right.
And now I want to take time to please myself and do things that matter to me.
Love it.
And slow down.
Yeah. That's what happens after 50 to all our younger friends who are artists. Something happens. Maybe you start to approach 50 and you're like, yeah, it's time for me now. Honestly, it's different. I don't know what it is, but yeah, your achiever gets a little quieter, and your inner harmony, wants to, yeah. At least for me. I mean, I don't know. It sounds like
very
you're
similar.
expressing. Yeah, very, very, very similar. Very sweet. So I'd love to know, like, what's one of the favorite pieces you've ever created?
In felt?
Well, I don't know. Just like one of your favorite pieces.
The little 5 fruit bats. I love those.
Let's see those.
Yeah,
guys.
that's hanging in my dining room. They're so cute.
They are adorable. So did you wet felt the base? Did you needle felt the whole piece and then wet felt it? How was this created?
I wanted to see what would happen, and I love that I can do this so often in felt with different materials to see how they combine. I said, what would happen if I put MC1 on the merino to define the little faces or the little heads of the bats and wet felt it all together? Not, one step at a time, but do it all at once. Worked out just fine. I was really slow and careful about it, and it looks really cool.
Neat. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's adorable little piece. And I'm just in love with those bats. I don't think I've ever fallen in love with bats as much as I have seeing them in felt. I'm not so afraid of them. So we have some pieces here. We asked Helen to select some of her favorite felts, and let's just talk us through some of these, Helen, because they're so fun. Y'all are going to love these.
So this was inspired by a trip I took to North Carolina. These are the Blue Ridge Mountains, and this is not from a photo necessarily. It's loosely inspired by a photo. It's in my Instagram if you want to check his name. And I cut out pre-felts to make those mountain lines, and these were all ideas I had. What happens if I do this? And let me try. I don't know if it's going to be successful, and I'm very happy with the result.
Yeah, super fun.
This one is a view of Coney Island from Staten Island, South Beach, and I wanted an excuse to use those neon pinks.
Dragon fruit.
Yes,
yeah.
dragon fruit.
Yeah. And who's this guy?
This was inspired by a photo that I found on Instagram, or maybe I Googled it. But I thought when you pull the merino and it makes that real fluffy fringe, I wanted to really take advantage of that in his fluffy head.
So cute. And what kind of bird is that?
It's a hornbill.
He's beautiful.
He has some silk hankies on his bill. And
tell us about this guy.
This was Fran Kennedy took this photo, and it's one of her favorites. She's a photographer I follow on Facebook. She's from Scotland or Ireland or England.
Somewhere where these guys exist.
Yeah. And that one's just a magnificent opportunity to go crazy with locks.
Yes, and texture. Locks and texture. So fun.
Oh, this was an art felt bat that I decided afterwards it looked like an underwater scene. And I have angelfish in a fish tank in my house, and I thought I'd do their portrait. So I took some pictures of them, and then I translated that into felt.
Adorable. So cute. And here comes a fun one that I especially love.
I always wanted to do an illustration of Quiche Lorraine. It's a B-52s song that goes into detailed description of this little dog with a strawberry blonde fall and a bonnet and sunglasses and appliques jeans. And she's 2 inches tall and dyed dark green. And all that imagery, I had to.
Yeah, some of you knew immediately as soon as you saw it, like I did. So our older friends knew exactly who that was.
And it sold immediately.
It did?
Somebody said, "Oh, I have to have that."
So fun. So cute. Well, I love that you're playful in your art. Like you like to do things that are representative and realistic, but at the same time, you have a really playful side and a fun side. So not only Quiche Lorraine, but your octopodes that you shared with us, and we mentioned those earlier. So humor in your art, tell me about that a little bit.
I think definitely humor is a big part of what I like to see in art. I'm a big fan of Ralph Steadman. I don't know if you know who he is. He's an artist. Look him up.
Okay.
Very funny.
Will do.
And my father loved to do funny cartoons all the time. He was always, doodling. And if he found a catalog or something, he would always start making faces on top of things, turn little inanimate objects into things.
Cute.
And I got that bug too.
That seems like a fun doodle exercise. Yeah, because I put faces on like
Exactly.
a stick. I'm going to see a face on that thing. That's really cute. I like
It's
that.
fun.
So Helen, you really discovered felting in your artistic abilities or like explorations not that long ago. And I love the fact that you're a trained artist, you're a trained photographer, you even done printmaking. But when it comes to felt, you've still been willing to be a student as well.
I'm willing to be a student in all. I still take painting classes.
That's fantastic.
Because you can always learn from somebody else. But felting is new to me, so it's even more important for me to learn from other people what works, what doesn't work, what's a cool thing that happens.
A technique or something. I think a lot of us don't start something sometimes because we think, well, that person has talent and I don't. And even I mentioned to Helen, well, I'm not very good at drawing and I would like to be. She said, have you taken a class? I said, no. She said, take a class. And that, I mean, it's absolutely right. If we study, the more we can be a student. And so we have some of your works that you did either directly from a class in feltingtutorials.com or offshoots from a class that you took. So let's look at some of these.
This one I made right after I finished Breakwater Beach from Laura Ricks. I was so happy with the way my project turned out. I immediately wanted to make a sunset version of it.
Yeah.
And I used those silk hankies the same way we did in the class, and it came together exactly the way I planned it.
It's beautiful. I love the colors in that piece. They're really, really striking. And do you have that one hanging somewhere in your house?
Yes.
So fun. I love it. And so we have more.
This was from Sonia's class with the macaws, and I love birds. I love making birds, and I thought that her methods in this were genius. I just couldn't wait to start it. When I remember when you interviewed her, and I was typing in, chatting, is that pre-fill? What is that?
Yeah.
And you said, not until you take the class.
That's right. You can't get the recipe until you take the class. But it was a great class, and you did a great results. Yeah, that's fun. And you can make a red macaw or a blue macaw or whatever.
And I even used those techniques to make the cow picture.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, it's a great one. It's learning techniques, and then your creative brain is going to give you other ideas, places to use them. And so we have some more from there, yeah? Like you've taken a lot of classes. So, and not just 2D, you did this 3D with Esther Baba, who came all the way from Hungary.
And she loves dogs the way I love dogs.
Yes. And so
you can really relate to her.
Fantastic. And it's so fun to see your results of what you made. How did you like that class?
It was amazing. It was so easy to follow. And I did it, I only felt maybe an hour or two in the afternoon sometimes. And I was able to get that done in a week.
That's so fun.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And it's I always bring it out to show everybody when they visit my house because look how cool this is.
so sweet. Oh, I love it. Yeah, it does look beautiful. And you did Laura Rick's Sunset Silhouette series.
Yes.
And after that, after taking that class, so how did you like that class?
I loved that class, and I was drawn in by. She said, I have a great technique for the stars I want to share. And I got really excited about it. So I said, yeah, I want to do that. And I did that class. And then I said, I'd love to do more excuses to use the neon colors, Aurora Borealis. So I did 2 Aurora Borealis in a round format, similar to hers, and just loved it.
So we can see, y'all can look here and see her Aurora Borealis pictures, which us in the South, like we never get to see unless it's in somebody else's photo.
Yeah, we don't see it in New York because of the light pollution.
Oh, right.
But I am always in awe of pictures of them.
Your felt works of these are beautiful. Yeah, I found them really striking and very memorable. They're so lovely. And then another favorite class that you took.
Kimberly Pulley's Blossom.
Portraiture class.
A portraiture class. And I thought, I don't know who I'd want to hang on my wall if it looks good. So I did self-portrait.
It's so fun.
But I learned so much about, even though I had the training of how to find colors I'm not a portrait artist. I do more animals, landscapes, and things of that nature. So the tips on doing a face was really, really useful and new to me. And her techniques for doing it in felt was new to me.
That's so nice. So fun and so great to see what you came up with. So Helen, what's next? Like, first of all, I want to say before we jump off this, y'all, that this landscape is just absolutely beautiful. And you worked really diligently, I want to say, on turning what you were just able to do and shared. We all just fell in love with it in the Facebook group. But turning it into a teachable process, you really invested a lot of time in that.
That was my goal. I want people to have success. I want them to want to do it and then feel that they can do it. So I've made it so step by step that you don't have to make decisions if you don't want to, and there's opportunities to put your own designs into it if you feel inspired.
Yeah, I know you spent a lot of time turning it into a course. She's a trained teacher. Oh, by the way, she's a trained teacher. Not was her dad a teacher, but she's a trained teacher. And then you've taken so many classes. So as being a good student, I think can also help you be a good teacher.
I enjoy when the teacher takes me through step by step and leaves no questions during the teaching process. So when I take a painting class or a felting class, I really appreciate all that detailed work and anticipating problems that might arise.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, what's next for you, Helen? What's your next piece that you're going to work on now that you've achieved this milestone?
There's a photo that I took at Snug Harbor, is a park near me, and it's the cultural center where they had the art show. And I've always wanted to do something with this photo and not just hang the photo on the wall. And I think that all that texture in the front has opportunities. I can see myself making pre-felts for those big rocks and with silks, and I can see using some locks in the little garden, and I have so many ideas.
Nice. And there's lots of light and shadow to play with in that piece as well. Well, hopefully when you get it done, you'll share it with us, but I bet you'll probably share some process pictures.
Oh, definitely. I take a lot of process pictures always.
It's one great thing about the Facebook group, y'all. So get on over there if you haven't. And before you go there, though, Helen, tell them where can they see more of your art? Where can they how do they hit you up if they want to buy any of your art? What do we do?
So my Instagram is the best place. I post all the things that I am really finished with on Instagram. It's HR Felt N stuff.
HR Felt N stuff.
Yes. And you'll find my finished projects there. And a lot of people ask me, is this for sale? And it often is.
Is it? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But what you can do is check out Helen's class. So y'all check that out. And I hope you take this class because we want to see what they make. Don't you, Helen?
Absolutely. Yeah. I know there's going to be so much variation the way people approach it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming here. Thank you for sharing with us, Helen. That's all for this time, y'all. It's been fun having you here, Helen.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to her class. If you want to learn more from Helen, she let us do her octopodes tutorial, our wet felted octopuses. So check that out. And you can also see more interviews with teachers from our school in the video right here.